G'day countrymen, it's Natasha here from Kimberley Birds, and I'm over here in Albuquerque in New Mexico at the moment. So it's been a long time since I've been to the USA, but I'm here attending the World Indigenous Business Forum. So I'm with Jaynaya Winmar this morning. Hi Jaynaya, how are you?
Good, thanks Tash, how are you?
Good. So Jaynaya is the Managing Director of Blakbone Sistahood. Tell us a little bit about yourself, Jaynaya. Where do you come from and how did you get into business?
Yeah, so Kai Mob, I'm Jaynaya Winmar, I'm a Noongar Ballardong woman from the Wheatbelt region in WA. I live on Naarm now and have started Blakbone Sistahood, so an Indigenous female consulting company that is supporting other Indigenous women kind of navigate that space.
Yeah, and you've been doing that for a little while?
Been doing it for over 4 years now.
Yeah. That's so exciting, hey? So yesterday, Jaynaya, you were on a panel, a very powerful presentation led by Rachel there, talking about Indigenous businesses, the importance of Indigenous businesses and the difference that we can make in community. But one of the statistics that was mentioned was a $300 almost billion spend every year on Indigenous, peoples globally, which is basically a deficit, right? It's a deficit narrative. And Rachel and yourself was talking about if only there could be just a fraction of that spent on strengths-based initiatives, spent on Indigenous businesses, allowing Aboriginal businesses to have access to capital, things like that. Can you speak to a little bit about that? Because I think it's so powerful. There's a global conversation happening right now. There's a growing awareness about the importance of Indigenous enterprise.
Yeah, I think that was highlighted because of doing the research to jump on the panel in the first place. There was no stats around Indigenous businesses and the number that there is in Australia or the breakdown within regions and the state. So I think having a lack of visual Indigenous female-led businesses across Australia was really thought-provoking for me, going, how do I change this? But then being on the panel with the Indigenous Women in Industry Global Fund Initiative asked yesterday with Rachel, highlighting the fact that there's a lot of money out there being that deficit model. How do we change that and how that we flip that into a positive for us? Because Indigenous women are more likely to bring Indigenous women to the table and to create a table that looked like us. So how do we do that impact and that monetary value and that impact back to community and that circular economy?
But Indigenous businesses, by and large, are unparalleled in regards to investments, reinvestment back into community. Like, will employ Aboriginal people, there's a $4.50 social return for every dollar spent in Indigenous businesses. But I love that as Indigenous women of Australia, we can come here, connect with Indigenous women from around the globe and have this important conversation and find our allies. So we also want to raise the consciousness of our people in Australia to say, are you looking in your region where you live in regards to the Indigenous businesses that are there? And are you engaging them and are you leveraging off what they know to get the outcomes that is needed for community?
Yeah, and it's really important because of that allyship. So we look at a lot of our roles in government and in those leadership spaces from that aspect are held by our men. So how are they advocating for us in that space to kind of take ownership of that space? And I think that's really important and a really positive shift that's happening at the moment, because we are not just being sought after for our opinion, but also being elevated into that space and our knowledge is being shared.
Yeah, so fantastic. We could talk all day about this. It's a very, very important conversation, but keep up the fantastic work and thanks so much for talking with me today.
Bye.
See you, countrymen.